So I've had the pleasure of driving the GLA, the GLB, the GLC, the GLE, all pretty recently. And while those are all great SUVs in their own right, this week we're driving the GLS. The GLS is Mercedes-Benz full-size luxury crossover SUV, which took over for the GL SUV back in 2020 for the third generation of this SUV. The GLS is considered Mercedes' flagship SUV, although you could argue that the G-Wagon or the G-Class is more expensive and has been in production longer and could be considered the flagship. But of course, we're here with the GLS, super excited to talk about it. The weather, obviously, not great. We did get some shots of the GLS when it was a bit more sunny earlier this week, so we'll have some of those shots sprinkled in. But let's go ahead and continue and talk about this thing. All right, so first off, we have two different trim levels. You have the GLS 450 and the GLS 580. We are driving the 580. You also have the AMG variants and the Maybach variant of the GLS, but we're not really touching on those at all in this video. We're just talking about the GLS that we have here. Looking at the exterior design of the GLS, it is a big, kind of bold, but still rounded SUV. Very smooth, luxurious looking. It's not going to stand out in the crowd too much, but if you get a closer glimpse, you'll know what this thing is. You do have the multi-beam LED headlamps as standard with a total of 112 LEDs per headlamp. You've got that dual bar grille with the Mercedes logo hugely in the middle. We've got big openings on the lower fascia to give it an AMG-like look. We've got automatic folding side mirrors that do fold on lock. The color of this thing, it's hard to tell here in this setting, but it is a dark, like forest green with lots of sparkly bits in the paint. It looks really good in direct sunlight, which you'll see in some of these shots. Talking about the size of this thing, it does have a 205.2 inch length with a 123.4 inch wheelbase. It is 84.9 inches wide and 71.8 inches tall. And of course, it is a 3-row, 7-passenger SUV. We'll get inside here in just a second as the rain comes down a little bit harder. Let's talk about the hatch and the engine really quick. Looking at the cargo volume, you're talking about 17.4 cubic feet of cargo space behind the third row. You can fold all the seats down and get up to 84.7 cubic feet total. So you have two different trim levels, which gives you two different engine options. The GLS 450 has a 3-liter inline 6 turbo with the mild hybrid drive, pushing 362 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque, and has a 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds. The GLS 580, which we're in here, has the 4-liter bi-turbo V8 with the mild hybrid drive as well, 483 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, and has a 5.2 second 0 to 60. Both are equipped with a 9-speed automatic transmission. This is the 9G-tronic transmission from Mercedes, and it all works out really well. And with that V8 engine, the GLS can be a powerhouse. You do have drive modes, dynamic drive modes, where you can go from eco to comfort to sport. And in the sport mode, this thing can get up and go pretty well. Even in this rainy, sticky situations, we got the 4MATIC all-wheel drive. Which gives us a ton of grip. So obviously, the GLS can be a powerhouse if you need it to be, and I guess if you're spending this kind of money on an SUV, it's probably nice to have, but not really what it's designed for. If you really want the powerhouse, I think the GLE is kind of the perfect size and power output for something super fun as an SUV. This one, being a little bit bigger, is more suited for a family-focused, comfortable cruiser, which you put it back into comfort mode, and it is. We've got a ton of technology in here. Obviously, the dual screen setup that is seen in most Mercedes these days. Beautifully appointed interior, nice leather seats, heated seats, cooled seats, massaging seats. The rear seats, the middle row here has the bucket seats that are heated also. You can get a bench seat. So this is a 6-passenger setup right now. It can be a 7-passenger setup with that bench middle row. The back row is only a 2-passenger setup, which is pretty common, but it really is a fantastic interior. Again, a ton of technology, really great systems, really great setup for all occasions. Easy to get comfortable. Everything's automatic adjusting. Seats are automatic adjusting, steering wheel's automatic adjusting. The ride is super good. We do have the sophisticated e-active body control, and it's a testament that you can take this thing out on some pretty rough back roads. And while you might be bounced around a little bit, it's way less jarring than in pretty much any other vehicle that I've driven recently. I've got one road, and usually the only vehicles that are comfortable on it are off-roading vehicles that have really good off-roading suspension. This thing, awesome, no issues at all. Fuel economy is 16 miles per gallon city, 21 highway. So for a big 3-row SUV with a bi-turbo V8, I guess that's decent. You do have the mild hybrid system, and that allows this vehicle to run solely on electricity for a little bit. It powers some of the electronics. As you stop, the engine can cut off and you're running on electricity. It's not a full hybrid system. It's not anything like the plug-in hybrids where you can go a certain distance in completely EV mode, but it's a little bit of something that helps a little bit. Obviously, this is the flagship SUV like we talked about in the intro. It is an expensive vehicle for the experience. The baseline GLS 450 has a base MSRP of just over $77,000. This one, the 580, has a base MSRP of over $100,000 and can easily push into the 120s. And surprisingly, the market is pretty flush with these big, luxurious SUVs. And that happens to be a pretty competitive price, believe it or not. Well, let me find a place to pull over. We'll discuss a little bit of my final thoughts, some of the competition that would compete with my buying decision with something like this, and we'll wrap up the video there. All right, guys, so thanks for sticking with me throughout this video, even with the weather situations and probably not as good quality as you might be used to if you watch a lot of my videos. That being said, the GLS is a fantastic SUV. We've used it a ton during this week. There's no doubt about it, the GLS is a great SUV. Mercedes does fantastic work with all of their vehicles, obviously. My biggest takeaway is, would I spend the $120,000+ on this, or would I go with something like the GMC Yukon Denali or a Cadillac Escalade? I would probably go with the Escalade, as it's bigger, has just as nice of an interior and tech inside of it. I can't think of a feature that this has that the Cadillac did not have. Obviously, I could be wrong there, but for the size, it makes sense to have the bigger vehicle if you're needing the bigger vehicle. If you don't need that extra space, obviously this will do just fine for you as well. While the Cadillac and the GMC are built here in Arlington, the Mercedes is built in Alabama, so take that for what you will. Interested to know what you guys think down in the comments, so please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the GLS. Let me know what you think about it compared to the wide array of competition out there. With that, I hope you did enjoy the video. Please hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We do a different review every week. The majority better conditions than this. Also go check out TXGARAGE.com, where we've got a lot of written reviews as well as event news coverage from a lot of great authors over there. And with that, guys, I'm calling it a day. Have a good one.